drunk mistakes and morning revelations, a tale of love and understanding. A voice interrupted the trio, asking if the person sitting with them was Miss Socks. Jasmine and her brother turned to see Josh, surprised to find him there. Josh explained that he had come with friends to have a good time on the weekend and asked if he could join them. Jasmine welcomed him, noting that his friends had already left. Josh took a closer look at Serenity's drawing of Zachary and recognized her as the artist. He found the drawing to be a masterpiece and tried to decipher its meaning. Observing Serenity's intoxicated state, he realized that she had a unique way of critiquing people through her drawings. Josh wanted to take a picture of the drawing to show Zachary but refrained from doing so in front of Jasmine and her brother. He admired Serenity's artistic talent and found her to be different. Josh then asked about Drake, and Jasmine introduced him as her brother. Josh politely shook Drake's hand and mentioned that he had gone on a blind date with Jasmine. Drake sought confirmation from Jasmine and accepted Josh's introduction. Jasmine pinched Drake's thigh and whispered that they would talk about it later. Jasmine asked Josh if he frequented the bar often, to which he replied that it was his first time. He explained that he heard good things about neon nights and wanted to see if the rumors were true. Suddenly, Serenity collapsed on the table, intoxicated by the alcohol. Jasmine rushed to help Serenity, who was insisting on having more drinks despite being drunk. Josh refrained from taking a video of Serenity in her intoxicated state but considered using the security footage to show Zachary later. Jasmine decided to take Serenity home, and when Josh offered to drive them, she declined, stating that her brother could drive them as he had alcohol intolerance. Josh was disappointed as he had hoped to have a chance to drive Jasmine home and impress her. Realizing that Zachary would be arriving soon, Josh knew he had to act quickly. Jasmine helped Serenity to the exit while instructing her brother to pay the bill. Josh offered to treat them, but Jasmine turned down his offer, signaling for her brother to settle the bill. Drake quickly paid the tab, and Josh picked up Serenity's drawing before following Jasmine out of the bar. Outside, Zachary appeared, surprising Jasmine. He took Serenity from her, his heart breaking as he saw her intoxicated state. Zachary had returned earlier than expected from his business trip. He carried Serenity towards a sedan, where Jim, his bodyguard, was waiting. Josh approached Zachary and handed him Serenity's drawing, mentioning that she had drawn it for him. Zachary, feeling guilty, picked up the drawing and thanked Josh, expressing the need to take his time to appreciate his wife's artwork. Zachary held onto the drawing without saying a word, understanding from Josh's expression that it likely had something to do with him. He recognized Serenity's talent for art as she often created samples for her crafts. He carefully carried Serenity into the car, settling her in the backseat. He sat next to her, keeping her body propped against his to prevent her from slipping down. Whispering into her ear, Zachary reassured Serenity, "I'm here, Seren. I'm here." Serenity, in her intoxicated state, was unable to fully comprehend his presence. She drifted in and out of sleep, occasionally mumbling her opinions about Zachary but mostly murmuring unintelligibly. Jasmine and her brother watched as the sedan drove away, leaving Drake curious about the man they encountered. He found Zachary to be intimidating and asked Jasmine about his identity. Jasmine confirmed that Zachary was Serenity's husband, the man she hastily married. Drake, lacking awareness, made comments about Zachary's appearance, finding him horrifying and familiar due to Serenity's drawing. Drake whispered to Jasmine, expressing his preference for Josh over Serenity's husband. He found Josh more appealing and mentioned his sense of familiarity. Jasmine reminded him that Serenity had drawn Zachary, explaining the reason for his familiarity. Drake chuckled at the realization. Jasmine and Josh bid each other farewell, with Josh offering Drake the opportunity to drive his car while he drove Jasmine home. Drake was taken aback by the suggestion, wondering if Josh doubted his driving abilities. However, Jasmine declined the offer, assuring Josh that her brother was a steady driver who wouldn't race with her in the car. Drake reassured Josh, saying he would get his sister home safely and offered to send a text message when they arrived to ease any worries. Jasmine was surprised by her brother's actions, unable to believe he had asked for Josh's contact number. She called out to Drake, expressing her disbelief at his request. Drake was quite taken with Josh and his friendly demeanor, which made Jasmine suspect that her brother would betray her and maintain a secret friendship with Josh. Josh happily took out his phone, suggesting they exchange numbers and have dinner together. Drake eagerly agreed and quickly exchanged contacts, expressing his excitement. However, Jasmine gave Drake a stern look, causing him to hesitate before getting into the car. Jasmine confronted her brother, questioning his actions and why he had exchanged numbers with Josh. Drake, undeterred, claimed that he didn't care who Josh was as long as he showed interest in Jasmine. Jasmine was speechless and threatened to kick Drake out of the house. Drake defended himself, explaining that he only brought in a modest income and couldn't take care of Jasmine indefinitely. He believed that Jasmine finding a wealthy partner would alleviate his responsibilities. Jasmine pointed out that they had rental income from properties and that she earned more than Drake did. She mentioned that their parents' properties belonged to them as well and promised to ask for a share when the inheritance was divided. Drake was moved by Jasmine's words and expressed his concern for her well-being. Jasmine explained that Josh was a high-ranking executive at York Corporation and advised Drake not to get too friendly with him, as their relationship hadn't progressed beyond one blind date. She revealed that Serenity's husband and Josh were colleagues at the same company. While driving, Drake suggested that he inform their mother about Josh, believing him to be an eligible bachelor. He felt prepared to take care of Jasmine if a catch like Josh wasn't suitable for her. Jasmine laughed and assured Drake that she had a good feeling about Josh but would take their friendship slowly. Drake urged her to decline Josh's dinner invitation, believing that Josh might have ulterior motives and come from a family involved in gathering intelligence. Jasmine confirmed that Josh belonged to the Buchan family, which intrigued Drake as he expressed his desire to learn from them. Jasmine was taken aback by her brother's aspirations and regretted bringing him along that night. She had a suspicion that he would willingly sell her out to join the Buchan's intelligence network. Zachary carried Serenity to Brinfield, while Jim informed him that Mrs. Lane was staying with Serenity's sister. He insisted that he'll take care of Serenity himself and entered the building with her. Jim waited until Zachary was inside before driving away. Zachary noticed the loafers placed at the front of their house, a safety precaution they had established when they got married to indicate the presence of a man in the house. Realizing he needed the keys to open the door, Zachary carefully placed Serenity down. However, she was too intoxicated to stand on her own, and he had to support her. As he searched for his keys, he realized he must have forgotten them in his rush to leave. He thought of two possibilities: either Serenity left her purse with the keys at the bar or in Jasmine's car. Zachary immediately called Josh and asked for his help in contacting Jasmine to inquire about the keys. Josh offered to drive to the Sox's house to retrieve the keys personally. He was eager to assist his boss and quickly made his way to the Sox's residence, even though it was late at night. Although Josh had never been to their home, his position as Zachary's head of intelligence provided him with the necessary information. Upon receiving Josh's call, Jasmine was surprised but assured him that they had arrived home safely. She confirmed that the keys were likely left in her car and mentioned that she had intended to return them to Serenity the next day. Josh informed her of Zachary's urgent need for the keys, explaining that Zachary had rushed home upon finding out that Serenity had gone drinking. Jasmine remembered that Mrs. Lane must have informed Zachary about their outing, removing any doubt. Jasmine quickly changed her clothes, retrieved Serenity's purse, and gathered her crafting supplies from her car's trunk. She handed everything to Josh, asking him to deliver them to Brinfield along with the keys. As Jasmine went downstairs, Josh took note of the 5-story building with its fancy chandelier hanging in the lobby, unable to see the details clearly due to the darkness. Despite her claims of not wanting to marry into wealth, Jasmine's family was actually quite affluent. However, they led modest lives and were pragmatic in their approach. Jasmine informed Josh that her parents were asleep, so she wouldn't invite him inside. Josh understood and mentioned that he would visit them another day, bringing a generous gift. Jasmine couldn't help but think that it was too early for him to meet her parents, especially since their courtship had just begun. Jasmine then asked about Zachary's business trip, wondering if he would have to continue it the next day. Josh explained that Zachary would likely need to return to work since he was responsible for handling important matters. Despite the fatigue, Zachary was willing to endure it for the sake of his wife. Jasmine expressed her disapproval of how Zachary had treated Serenity, causing her distress over a trivial matter. She concluded that it was dangerous to argue with men. Josh reassured Jasmine that he wasn't narrow-minded like Zachary. However, Jasmine didn't probe further and decided it was time to rest. She asked Josh to deliver Serenity's belongings and keys. Josh agreed, bid her goodnight, and left to bring the items to Zachary at Brinfield. Arriving at Brinfield past midnight, Josh followed Zachary's directions to the 8th floor. There, he found Zachary leaning against the wall, holding Serenity. Josh placed the box of items on the floor and handed the house key to Zachary, explaining that they were materials for Serenity's handicrafts that Jasmine had entrusted him to deliver. Noticing Serenity's discomfort, Josh suggested that Zachary help her to the bathroom. Before he could finish speaking, Serenity began to vomit. Zachary ignored Josh's presence and focused on taking care of his wife, guiding her to the sofa and making her comfortable. Realizing he had unintentionally jinxed the situation, Josh awkwardly excused himself and left, feeling a bit repulsed by the situation. After leaving the room, Josh reflected on Zachary's love for Serenity. Despite being a clean freak, Zachary didn't push her away when she vomited on him. Josh admired Zachary's love for her and continued to hold her in high regard. Inside the house, Zachary took off his jacket and placed it on the ground, along with Serenity's soiled clothes. He decided to clean up later and focused on carrying Serenity back to their room. As he entered their room, he noticed that all of Serenity's belongings were gone. Wondering if she had moved back to her own room out of anger, Zachary stood in silence for a few minutes before deciding to carry her to her room. Serenity, in her drunken state, continued to mutter and express her desire to hate Zachary. Ignoring her insults, Zachary placed her on the bed and tried to apologize, but she remained unresponsive. He sighed and left to retrieve clean clothes for her. Returning to the room, he sat at the edge of the bed and helped her change. It was a challenging task, but he eventually succeeded. Zachary then went back to his room and took a cold shower, a habit he maintained despite the cold weather. Afterward, he returned to Serenity's room and sat by the bed. She was fast asleep but had tears on her face. Tenderly, he wiped away the tears and kissed her face, expressing his remorse for his overreaction and self-centered behavior. He confessed his true identity as the CEO of York Corporation and the heir to the wealthy York family, acknowledging that he had kept this from her. However, Serenity was deeply intoxicated and didn't hear his confession. Zachary continued to speak, sharing his suspicions about her intentions when she saved Nana and his fears of being deceived. He explained that he hid his identity to test her character and win Nana's approval. However, now he was afraid of the consequences. After our marriage, I was always suspicious of you and had my guard up. I made you sign a restrictive agreement for 6 months, and I admit that I was a jerk. I only cared about my own interests and never considered you. You called me a slimeball, and you were right. Saren, I'm sorry. Zachary gently kissed Serenity on the lips, his face filled with pain. He promised her that he would change and learn to understand and trust her. He acknowledged their inexperience as husband and wife and expressed his commitment to work hard and grow together. As he spoke softly to her, Zachary gradually fell asleep beside her. Both husband and wife had a difficult time after their fight. Serenity went to a bar and got drunk, while Zachary stayed up all night without proper rest or food. Mrs. Lane had advised him on the importance of trust and understanding in a lasting relationship. Zachary woke up earlier than Serenity, realizing he hadn't cleaned the living room yet. He kissed her on the cheek and went to clean the space. After sweeping and mopping, he threw his suit jacket in the trash and hand-washed Serenity's clothes to avoid soiling the washing machine. After finishing the chores, hunger struck him. He hadn't eaten dinner the previous night and had been busy with morning tasks. He quickly prepared a meal in the kitchen and ate to relieve his hunger. His phone rang, and he answered the call. He murmured, "I'll be there in 3 hours." He contacted the crew of his private plane, informing them to prepare for his upcoming business trip. He realized he had to leave Wiltzboon soon and would also attend a wedding in Annenberg. He hoped to return by the 28th to take Serenity to Whitmore Mansion for New Year's celebrations. Returning to Serenity's room, he saw she was still asleep and decided not to wake her. He kissed her on the cheek and reminded her to think of him even if it meant calling him names. He mentioned that Mrs. Lane would return to make her food when she woke up. After saying his goodbye, he sent a message to Mrs. Lane and prepared to leave. Before going out, he noticed the drawing on the corner of the sofa, the one Josh had given him last night. Remembering it was drawn by Serenity, he walked over and picked up the piece of paper. Zachary carefully examined the drawing Serenity had made of him. He noticed that she had drawn his heart outside his body, portraying it as small, implying that he was petty and narrow-minded. He also questioned the significance of the water and circles in the drawing. Uncertain of their meaning, he pondered over it while walking. When Jim, his assistant, noticed Zachary holding the drawing, he complimented Serenity's artwork, although he couldn't see it clearly. Zachary acknowledged that she had drawn him skillfully, resembling a photograph. His attention was drawn to the circles on the water, and he humorously referred to himself as a slime ball. Jim, perplexed by Zachary's remark, asked for clarification, thinking he heard Zachary call himself a slimeball. Zachary dismissed it and instructed Jim to drive, as he was in a hurry. Deciphering the hidden meaning behind Serenity's drawing, Zachary sighed deeply. Despite Serenity's choice of words, he recognized that it was her first drawing for him and held sentimental value. He folded the paper carefully, intending to cherish it. Shortly after, Josh called Zachary, inquiring if he was home or leaving for his business trip. Zachary confirmed he's going on the trip, expressing his dissatisfaction about having to work over the weekend. He explained that there were unresolved issues that needed his attention. The purpose of his business trip was to rectify the situation and implement management changes at the subsidiary. Josh asked about Serenity's drawing, prompting Zachary to describe it as incredibly lifelike, indicating that she held strong feelings for him. When asked about the circles, Zachary interpreted them as Serenity's way of indirectly scolding him without causing humiliation. Josh remarked on Zachary's ability to derive a different meaning from the drawing intended to scold him and questioned if he was angry or if he tore the drawing. Zachary snapped, questioning why Josh expected him to be angry. He explained that even if Serenity called him a slimeball, it was an expression of tough love. He believed that her scolding stemmed from her love for him. He expressed his intention to frame and treasure the drawing, reminiscing about it when he grew older. Josh was surprised by Zachary's response and challenged him to hang the drawing in his office. However, Zachary insisted on keeping it in their bedroom as a reminder to be more open-minded. After their conversation, Josh hung up and realized that Zachary not only understood the meaning but also showed off his wife and affection, showcasing their unique perspective as a couple. Meanwhile, Serenity woke up with a splitting headache and answered a call from Mrs. Lane. She let her in, along with her sister Liberty and nephew Sonny. Serenity asked Mrs. Lane if Liberty knew about her night out drinking, but Mrs. Lane hinted that the smell of alcohol was still present. Serenity sat down with Liberty and Sunny, but the little one expressed disgust at her smell. Serenity laughed and promised to freshen up by taking a shower. Liberty informed Serenity that they were going to Aunt Audrey's house later, and Serenity quickly went to change and prepare. Mrs. Lane discreetly entered the kitchen to prepare food for Serenity. When Serenity returned from her room, she quietly asked Mrs. Lane if Zachary had come back the previous night, mentioning a dream she had about him caring for her while she was drunk. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Voice Novel, and follow Voice Novel on Facebook, so you will get notified whenever a new video is uploaded. Thank you.